They didn't even knock on the door. Just left her there like a forgotten bag of trash. My blind granddaughter, 7 years old, standing in the cold, hugging a little backpack like it was the only thing she owned. That's how I found out my son and his wife had gone on a luxury cruise. Before I begin, if this story moves you even a little, please consider staying till the end. Your time means the world to me, and if you feel something, maybe give it a like or share it with someone who needs to hear it. It was a chilly Friday morning when I heard a soft shuffle outside my front door. At first, I thought it was the wind or a package drop. But when I opened the door, there she was, Emily. Her eyes stared blankly ahead, and her lips trembled. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. My heart broke right then and there. I rushed her inside and wrapped her in a blanket. Her hands were cold, and her little fingers clutched that backpack like her life depended on it. There was no note, no message, nothing. I tried calling my son, Travis, and his wife, Heather, but both phones went straight to voicemail. I called again, and again. Still nothing. My neighbor, Miss Linda, walked over a few hours later and casually said, "I saw Travis and Heather early this morning. They had suitcases. Looked like they were headed to the airport." It hit me like a slap in the face. They left her. They actually left her. I didn't cry, not yet. I made Emily some hot chocolate and tried to keep my voice calm. She sat at the table, quietly listening, nodding when I asked if she was hungry. She never asked where her parents went. Maybe she already knew they weren't coming back soon. That night, while she was sleeping in the guest room, I sat in my recliner and stared at the wall. I kept asking myself what kind of parent could do this. I raised Travis better than that. Or so I thought. I've never felt anger like that before. It wasn't loud. It wasn't shouting. It was quiet and cold and deep, like something had snapped inside me. I knew right then. I wasn't just going to take care of Emily. I was going to make sure this never happened again. I pulled out my old file box from the closet, the one with all our family records, and started going through it. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but I knew this. They didn't just abandon their daughter. They handed her over to the wrong grandmother to mess with. The next morning, after making Emily pancakes shaped like little hearts, just the way she liked them, I decided to go through her small backpack. It was dusty pink with one torn strap, and it looked like it hadn't been cleaned in weeks. Inside, I found a few clothes, a worn-out storybook, some crayons, and a stuffed bunny missing one ear. At the bottom, crumpled between 2 t-shirts, was something that stopped me cold. A boarding pass. It had my son's name, Travis Grant, and Heather's too. The flight was to Miami, dated just the day before, so they hadn't just gone off on a last-minute trip. They had planned it, packed their bags, booked the tickets, and dropped their blind daughter like a package on my doorstep. My hands were shaking, but it didn't end there. When I picked up Emily's stuffed bunny, it let out a little click. It startled me. I realized it wasn't just a toy. It was one of those voice recorders that plays back what it hears. Emily must have accidentally hit the playback button. Then came the voices. Heather's first, sharp and cold. "Just leave her. Your mom owes us. She'll deal with it." Then Travis. "She's blind, Heather. She won't even know what's going on. And we deserve this break." Heather again. "She's dead weight, Travis. I'm not spending another second changing diapers for a 7-year-old. I froze. My chest ached. My own son, my only child, talked about his daughter like she was trash. And Heather. I never liked her much, but this was evil. I looked over at Emily. She was sitting quietly by the window, running her fingers over the raised lines of her book, unaware of the poison I'd just heard. I took a deep breath, walked over, and knelt beside her. "You're safe here, baby," I whispered, brushing a curl off her cheek. "No one's taking you away." She smiled and leaned into me. I smiled back, but inside me, something was burning. They didn't just abandon her. They talked about her like a burden, like she wasn't even human. And they expected me to just accept it? Take their mistake and stay silent? No. That's when I knew this wasn't just about sheltering Emily anymore. This was about showing them what it feels like to be thrown away. And trust me, I had just begun. Sitting at my kitchen table, the voice recording still echoing in my mind, I felt a cold calm wash over me. I had always thought there was a line Travis and Heather wouldn't cross. But now I saw the truth. There had never been a line. Just my blind hope that they would one day become decent people. As I watched Emily quietly build a puzzle by touch, I thought back to everything I'd given them. Not just emotionally, but financially too. I had been paying the price for their mistakes long before they left Emily on my porch. I paid for their wedding. Travis told me he and Heather didn't want anything fancy, just a small gathering in the park. But Heather wanted a venue, a designer dress, custom decorations. The cost kept going up, and I didn't want them starting married life in debt. So I paid. Every last cent. A few years later, it was the business. Travis wanted to start a mobile tech repair service. He said he just needed a little boost to get going. I emptied out a chunk of my retirement saving. Within a year, it was gone. No profits. No accountability. Just excuses. Then came the house. A dream home, he called it. Heather refused to live in some rental dump, so they asked if I could co-sign the loan and help with the down payment. I hesitated, but Travis insisted it was temporary, just until he got a promotion. I caved. Heather never once said thank you. Not when I helped with bills, not when I bought groceries for them during hard months, not even when I took care of Emily during her early surgery. She always looked at me like I was just necessary, like a faucet. Turn it on when you need it. Turn it off when you don't. The worst part, I always excused it. I told myself they were just young, still learning. I thought if I kept helping, eventually they'd grow up. But they didn't. Instead, they dropped their blind daughter off like garbage and went on vacation. So no, I wasn't shocked. Not really. The warning signs had been flashing for years. I was just too scared to see them. Too scared to admit I raised a man who could be so heartless. But I wasn't scared anymore. I pulled out my phone and started making calls. I spoke to a family lawyer. I scheduled a meeting with a financial advisor. I wanted to know exactly what I could do to protect Emily, and what rights I had regarding the house I helped pay for. Guilt used to hold me back. But now? Now I was done being the bank, done being the babysitter, done being the silent fixer. They made their choice. Now I was making mine. The days that followed were quiet, but full. I focused on making Emily feel at home, really at home. Not just safe, but wanted. Every morning, we made breakfast together. I'd crack the eggs and she'd stir. She was careful, thoughtful, and curious about everything. She liked to ask what color the sky was that day or how the sun felt on my skin. Her world was built on sound, smell, and touch, and it was beautiful. One afternoon, I heard the soft sound of music coming from the living room. I peeked in and saw Emily sitting at the old upright piano. Her small fingers moved slowly across the keys. No sheet music, no guidance. Just her listening and playing by ear. The melody was simple but haunting. I sat on the edge of the couch, quietly watching her. "Where did you learn that?" I asked gently. She shrugged. "I heard it on a cartoon once. I think it stuck in my hands." I laughed, then cried a little when she couldn't see me. She had so much talent, so much light in her. And all I could think about was how overlooked she must have been. Left in front of the TV. Ignored at meals. Spoken about like she wasn't even there. I started writing little notes in Braille and hiding them in her toy box or under her plate. Just simple messages. You are loved. You are safe. You are home. She would smile every time she found one, tracing the bumps with her fingers like they were gold. At night, we'd sit on the porch swing, wrapped in a blanket, sipping warm milk and listening to the crickets. One night, she leaned her head against my shoulder and whispered, "Will I have to go back when they come for me?" My chest tightened. I pulled her closer. "No, baby," I said, holding her tight. "You're not going back. Not ever. This is your home now." She didn't say anything right away, but she sighed. One of those deep, quiet sighs that carry a lifetime of fear and confusion, and I knew it mattered. That night, I made a silent vow to myself. Whatever it took, I would fight for her. Not just because of what they did, but because of who she is. Emily wasn't a burden. She was a miracle they never deserved. And now she was mine. The next Monday, I put on my church shoes and drove to the county courthouse. I wasn't going to waste time. Emily needed protection, legal protection, not just my love. I walked into the family services office and asked how to file for emergency guardianship. The clerk, a kind woman with silver glasses, listened carefully as I explained the situation. When I played her the recording from Emily's toy, she froze. "You need to take this to CPS immediately," she said. And I did. Child Protective Services listened to the recording twice. Heather's voice calling Emily dead weight. Travis saying I owed them. The agent didn't ask many questions after that. She just nodded and started typing. Later that day, I was granted emergency custody pending a court hearing. I was relieved, but it didn't stop there. Something wasn't sitting right. I had this gnawing feeling that Travis and Heather weren't just running from responsibility. They were preparing to disappear. I logged into my computer and pulled up the real estate website I knew they used. It didn't take long. There it was, their house. Listed just 3 days ago. Beautiful photos, staged furniture, and a price tag that told me they were trying to cash out fast. That's when it all clicked. This wasn't a break. This wasn't some quick getaway. They were liquidating everything, probably planning to move states, maybe even leave the country. And they dropped off Emily like she was a piece of unwanted furniture they couldn't sell. I called my lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Grace who had helped me update my will years ago. I explained everything. The abandonment, the house, the recording, even my past financial help. She listened in silence, then said, "Let's dig. I want to see what's tied to your name." 2 days later, she called me back. "Marjorie, did you know you co-signed a personal loan for $40,000 last year?" My stomach dropped. "What? No, I didn't." Yes, you did. At least on paper. Looks like they used your name and information to get it approved. I couldn't breathe for a second. I felt like I'd been punched. All those times I trusted them, signed documents they brought over, saying it was just some rental paperwork or something for taxes. I hadn't even read half of it. They didn't just betray me emotionally. They were drowning me financially. Without my knowledge, they were pulling me down with them. I sat in the quiet, staring at Emily's piano in the corner of the living room. No more chances. No more forgiveness. They wanted to erase their responsibility? Fine. I was about to erase every privilege they thought they had left. 2 weeks later, just as I was helping Emily water the garden, a black SUV pulled into the driveway. Out stepped Travis and Heather, sunburnt, wearing designer sunglasses and dragging expensive luggage. They looked like they'd just walked out of a travel magazine, grinning as if nothing had happened. I stood on the porch, arms crossed, heart thudding in my chest. Emily was inside, playing piano. She didn't hear the car. Thank God. Travis walked up, arms wide. Mom, we're back. I didn't move. You shouldn't have come. Heather rolled her eyes. Where's Emily? We came to get her. Before I could answer, a patrol car pulled up behind them. Sheriff Collins stepped out and walked straight toward us. Travis's smile faded. What's this? He asked, turning to me. Child abandonment. CPS opened an investigation. You're being served notice, I said flatly. Emily is under my legal guardianship now. Travis laughed, but it sounded forced. Oh, come on, Mom. It was temporary. We needed a break. You always said you'd help. Heather crossed her arms. She's too much. The screaming, the accidents. She needs special care we can't give her. She's 7, I snapped. And blind, not broken. Travis stepped closer, lowering his voice. You're punishing us for needing time away? Seriously? You act like we threw her in the street. You left her on my doorstep without even knocking, I said coldly. And you recorded yourselves saying I owed you. CPS has the evidence. Sheriff Collins nodded, then handed Travis a document. This outlines the investigation. Until this is resolved, you are not to contact the child directly. Travis's face turned red. Are you kidding me? He turned to the sheriff, then pointed at me. She's twisting this. She's always been like this, controlling, acting like she's better than everyone. You said I owed you, I reminded him. You called your daughter dead weight. Heather started shouting over me. She's lying. That toy recording was probably faked. Sheriff Collins raised a hand. That's enough. Everything you say now is being documented. Travis turned back toward the SUV, furious. We'll get a lawyer. You'll regret this. But I wasn't scared. I didn't flinch. For the first time in years, I had power, and I wasn't giving it up. As they drove off, I turned back toward the house. Emily was still at the piano, playing a tune I didn't recognize. She didn't know they'd come, and she didn't need to, because they weren't coming back, not this time. It took weeks of paperwork, meetings, and late-night phone calls, but Grace, my lawyer, finally found the crack. It turns out that co-signing the loan for Travis and Heather's house had given me more legal power than they ever realized. Thanks to their unpaid debts and the forged loan in my name, I had legal grounds to intervene. Grace looked me in the eye and said, You can force a sale. You won't get the whole thing, but you'll get your share. And honestly, that house is the only asset they haven't burned to the ground. So, I said the words I never thought I'd say. Do it. Within a week, the paperwork was in motion. The house they once bragged about, the one Heather decorated like it belonged in a magazine, the one they threw parties in while I babysat Emily, was going up for sale. I didn't feel guilty. Not anymore. They had listed it already, hoping to pocket the money and disappear. But with the new legal motion in place, they couldn't touch a cent without my signature. And I wasn't signing anything, except the papers that gave me control. They tried to block it, of course. Travis sent long, angry emails full of insults and empty threats. Heather left a voicemail crying, calling me cruel. But I didn't flinch. I didn't even respond. I let Grace and the sheriff handle it all. When the house sold, the check came in bigger than expected. I immediately took my portion, more than enough to cover the forged loan, my legal fees, and some of the financial damage they'd left behind. But the rest? I didn't keep it. I put every dollar into a trust for Emily. It's locked, protected, accessible only for her education, therapy, or needs related to her disability. Not a penny of it can be touched by Travis or Heather. Not now, not ever. Travis showed up at my house the day the sale finalized. No warning, just rage. He stormed up to the porch, red in the face. You sold our house. You're a monster. I didn't even blink. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, You left a blind child on my porch and went on a cruise. You don't get to play victim. His mouth opened like he wanted to argue, but no words came out. Just silence. I shut the door in his face. Inside, Emily was drawing at the kitchen table, humming to herself. She looked up and smiled when she heard me. You okay, Grandma? I nodded, smiling back. I'm better than okay, sweetheart. Because finally, for the first time in a long time, justice didn't feel like a dream. It felt real. And it felt earned. It didn't take long for word to spread. Small towns have big mouths, and our family drama was suddenly everyone's favorite conversation. At first, Travis tried to control the story. He called our relatives, claiming I had manipulated the system, that I stole their house and turned Emily against them. He said I was bitter and lonely, using his daughter to punish him. But it didn't work, because the truth was louder. The voice recording had already made its way through the right channels. My niece, Carla, who had always stayed neutral, called me in tears after hearing it. I believed him, Aunt Marjorie, she whispered. But after hearing what he said, I'm so sorry. Heather's parents were next. They weren't saints, but they were stunned. Her mother, Patricia, called me and asked for a copy of the recording. I sent it. The next day, Patricia showed up at my door with a box of Emily's baby things and tears in her eyes. She's not welcome in our home anymore, she said. But Emily is. Old friends stopped returning Travis's calls. Their social media pages went silent. The pictures from their cruise, once proudly shared, were now buried under comments calling them out. No one wanted to be associated with parents who could abandon a disabled child. Travis, desperate to regain control, tried to sue me. He wanted the house sale overturned and custody of Emily restored. But the court had already seen the proof. The judge looked over the paperwork, listened to the recordings, and shut it all down in a single sentence. This child deserves stability, not selfishness. He walked out of that courtroom red-faced and humiliated. And me? For once, I didn't try to fix anything. I didn't call around to clear the air. I didn't make excuses for my son. I didn't worry about what people thought. Because I finally understood something I should have learned years ago. Love without limits isn't kindness. It's a leash. And Travis had been yanking mine for too long. Now the leash was gone. Emily and I walked into town one afternoon, hand in hand, and people stopped to smile at her. No whispers, no pity. Just kindness. They saw her for who she really was, brave, bright, and beautiful. And they saw me for what I had become. Not a bitter old woman clinging to her son, but a grandmother who finally said enough. The house felt different now, lighter, warm. Not just because Travis and Heather were out of the picture, but because it was finally filled with love, not fear. Emily was thriving in a way I had never seen before. We enrolled her in a school for the blind in the nearby city. The first day, I was more nervous than she was. She held my hand tightly as we walked in, her white cane tapping gently ahead of her. But within minutes, she was surrounded by smiling faces, teachers trained to help her shine, and other kids who saw the world like she did. I think I like it, she whispered to me that evening. It feels like they understand me here. I smiled and said, they do. And I do too. At home, I turned the guest room into a sensory-friendly bedroom just for her. I added soft textures, plush rugs, quilted blankets, scented lavender sachets. The furniture had rounded edges. I labeled drawers with braille. She knew where everything was. It gave her confidence, and that confidence spread into every corner of her life. And the music, oh, the music. I found a woman in town who taught piano to blind children. Emily took to her like honey to tea. Her fingers danced over the keys with purpose and grace, like they had been waiting for permission all along. She learned songs faster than the teacher could assign them. One Sunday at church, she performed a hymn so beautifully, people were crying in the pews. We went on little adventures together, farmers' markets where she could touch the fresh fruits and flowers, concerts in the park where she'd sit close to the stage, soaking in the sound. We even went to a pumpkin patch in the fall. She picked hers by touch, running her hands over each one until she found the roundest, happiest one. She laughed more now. She ate better. She slept through the night without calling out. One night, after her bath, we curled up together on the couch with warm milk and soft music playing in the background. She leaned her head on my shoulder, quiet for a long time. Then she whispered, "You're my real mom now." I froze. My heart cracked open. I kissed her forehead, holding back tears. "Thank you, baby," I whispered. "That's the greatest thing anyone's ever said to me." She smiled and drifted off to sleep in my arms. In that moment, the pain, the anger, the years of betrayal, they didn't vanish, but they softened. They stepped aside, just for a while, to let peace in. Because we had built a home, not a perfect one, but a real one. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was just happy. I used to think family meant unconditional loyalty, no matter the cost. I thought if I just gave enough, forgave enough, held on tight enough, I could fix what was broken. But now I know better. Betrayal doesn't always come with violence or shouting. Sometimes, it's the quiet shrug when someone leaves a blind child on your porch and says, "She'll be fine." It's the way they walk away without looking back. It's the lies they tell themselves to sleep at night. Selling their house, their so-called dream home, wasn't about revenge. It was about protection. I used the law they tried to twist against them. I used the same papers they had me sign without my knowledge. And I used the money they would have wasted on another selfish escape to build something lasting for Emily. I don't regret it. Not for a second. I renovated my little house instead. I built a music corner for Emily. I planted a garden she could touch and smell. I invested in her future and slowly in mine too. What I do regret? Not stepping in sooner. Not seeing the warning signs for what they were. Not asking the hard questions when Travis changed, when Heather's smiles stopped reaching her eyes. I was so afraid of being that mother who interferes that I became the one who watched from the sidelines while a child suffered. Never again. The story doesn't have a picture-perfect ending. Travis still sends cold, clipped texts, mostly threats. Heather's parents disowned her, and most of their friends dropped off the map. The damage they caused didn't just hurt Emily, it isolated them too. But Emily? She's healing. She's strong. Last weekend, she performed at a local community concert. The hall was packed, but you could have heard a pin drop when she played. Her small hands moved confidently over the keys, her face calm, eyes closed. She didn't need sight to see where she belonged anymore. I sat in the front row, tears streaming down my face, my heart full. And in the back of the room, I noticed him. Travis. He stood in the shadows, arms folded, alone. No applause. No recognition. Just watching. Unseen. Unwanted. And that's how it ends. Not with a courtroom showdown or some dramatic reunion. Just a mother and a child, finally safe, finally whole. And a man who walked away from everything that ever mattered. I sold everything that tied me to them. And in doing so, I bought back my soul. Do you believe Marjorie did the right thing by cutting ties and starting fresh with Emily? Or should she have tried harder to mend the broken pieces of her family? I'd really love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Speech balloon, backhand index pointing down. And if stories like this speak to you, tales of strength, betrayal, and quiet triumph, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so you're the first to know when a new story drops.